All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to today's presentation, Maximizing Technology, how ATU, Arkansas Tech University, utilizes a virtual assistant. So you have here with you, we'll get to introductions in a second, but two folks from Mongoose. If you don't know about Mongoose, we work exclusively with higher ed institutions. We're lucky enough to have over 550 colleges and universities as clients. And we make two products, Cadence, our texting platform, and Harmony, our intelligent virtual assistant, which we're going to talk about today. And our sole purpose at Mongoose is to help our schools communicate with their constituents and reach their goals. So my name is Amy Kilpatrick. I am a product manager at Mongoose. And today we have with us as presenters Meredith Shaw, also from Mongoose. She is an implementation specialist and a virtual assistant wizard. So she works with our clients to create their virtual assistants and their chat flows to best represent their image and accomplish their goals. And also with us as a presenter today, we have Brandy Gibbs from Arkansas Tech University. She is the Enrollment Management Technology and Communication Specialist there. And she has over 15 years experience in higher ed. So I'm happy to have these two ladies as our presenters today. So taking a quick look at our agenda for today, today's discussion is going to showcase the ways in which higher ed institutions can maximize technological advances like Harmony's virtual assistant to support their staff, guide their visitors, and represent their institutional values and goals. We're going to start out talking about kind of the challenge, the squeeze on staff at our institutions, how a virtual assistant has helped Arkansas Tech University. So Brandy is going to offer her perspective on challenges they were facing and how Harmony has helped them. And then we're going to end kind of talking about the support that Harmony and Mongoose provides, as well as looking at some of the results that ATU has seen. We will try to leave some time for questions at the end. To share a question as we're kind of going along here, you can use the chat icon in your Zoom toolbar. I think it looks like a little bubble. Feel free to open that up at any point during the presentation. I think by default, it's going to send the question to everyone. But if you want to change that where it says everyone, you can just kind of hit the little drop down and you can send the question privately to me, Amy Kilpatrick, if you like. I will try to monitor it throughout, and then, like I said, at the end, we'll try to get to some questions. And then if anyone at that point feels brave too and wants to unmute and ask, we'll give that option at the end as well. So without further ado, I am going to hand it over to Meredith to start our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Amy. So obviously, today we're talking about kind of two components. We're looking at Harmony's virtual assistant as it is a part of a technological solution using Arkansas Tech as our partner here to talk about their experience. So something to keep in mind, you're seeing the challenge. So what we know is that there are many challenges that have been kind of on the rise that are facing, that higher ed institutions are facing. And some of those have been certainly exacerbated over the pandemic, but more than likely they are not new issues that are arising. So our objective here today is to talk about solutions that are not temporary, something that's long-term that can benefit institutions and just help take things to the next level. So here you see we have our patchwork quilt. Okay, so this kind of is a representation of, you look at this, you're drawn to it, you see a lot of things, a lot of different patterns and colors. And what this serves to represent is when you go to a higher ed institution's website, you know that there's a lot of information, which is a very good thing. but this can be very overwhelming. So if you are somebody that is new to the process, first generation, or just new to the school in general and choosing among different institutions, coming to a website and finding a page or a department you're looking for is one thing, but we kind of live in a place where our society wants this immediate gratification. So once we get into those multiple clicks and having to do multiple things to get an answer, people are far less likely to carry on in that pursuit, and they want a simpler solution. And so this slide here is kind of representative of the fact that because of these issues that we see, because the information is there, but someone can't find it or they don't want to spend the time to find it, we're seeing staff getting inundated with the same types of questions over and over again. Some of these things are easily found on the website, but they feel it's easier to contact staff, whereas other things might be a little harder to come across, but they are available. So then what ends up happening is that staff, which is of course your most valuable resource, is really overrun with these kind of same questions over and over again, and they're left without time to get at the heart of the questions that may be more personal or really need answered. And so essentially what we're talking about here is, okay, we got this little help post-it. That's probably how a lot of staff members are feeling across departments. So again, what ends up happening is when you have staff members that are spending their time answering emails, answering phone calls, they're not getting enough time to do their tasks that they need to do regularly or to answer any of those more, pressing questions. This has been especially true over the course of the pandemic, as many of us have experienced, because this is now a new set of questions, maybe about some of the same topics, but with a different spin. So we need to kind of focus on the fact that, if staff is your most valuable resource and they're feeling kind of disheartened or that they can't get through their workday and be as productive as they'd like to be, they need some help. And here we've got a little brain that's, signifying the fact that, as many of you are well aware, you can have a lot of information on your website. You can have your processes and here's how you enroll, and here's the requirements, and here's how you walk through, the FAFSA or whatever it is. But your staff are in place for a reason. And in large part, it is because the knowledge that they keep in their own mind is a critical piece of their role. So we have these really knowledgeable staff members, and they have information that the websites don't always have. So that's why some people end up calling. Okay, maybe somebody is enrolling in an institution for the first time. They found some of the information they need, but they're not understanding something. Okay, well, they're going to call and speak with a staff member who's going to give that personal piece in their experience and kind of give that attention to the site visitor. And so meet Harmony. Okay, so this is where Mongoose Harmony enters the picture. We want to provide these solutions. We want to give you that virtual assistant to be kind of your greeter on your website or your department pages, but also kind of your liaison and best friend with your staff. And so you can see here, we have Arkansas Tech here. This is a screenshot of their main site and their new virtual assistant buddy, Russell. So you've probably heard of a lot of chatbots before, but as we're going to get into, Harmony's solution and Russell here is a lot different than that. So essentially what we're doing here is having Russell serve as that extension of staff. And he's just a friendly, kind of cute guy that sits on the site, and he's ready and waiting to answer all questions. So here we've got a comparison picture, right? So you've probably heard about chatbots before in various contexts. We see these on all types of websites, whether you're purchasing something or you're on an institution website. So chatbots have kind of been in the mix for a while now. They're still growing. But when we talk about chatbots versus Harmony and what we offer, there's a big difference. Okay, so we're talking tricycle to motorcycle. But really the pieces we're going to go into here are about the personalization to the client institution, the context that's provided, and the experience for every site visitor that is using and interacting with one of these virtual assistants. And you can see here that when you're looking at kind of your standard chatbot versus Harmony, there are some major differences. So essentially what we're looking at is Harmony's giving this experience that is, first of all, it does those basics, right? So if your basic level chatbot is answering those FAQs, serving up a quick answer, that's great. Harmony can do that too. But what we want to do is guide visitors through tasks in a way that a staff member would. These can include complex processes from enrollment through matriculation, financial aid, or any number of things that you find to be pressing issues or topics. Also important are that Harmony integrates with existing systems. So if that is your CRM or your SIS, we can make sure that we integrate with that so you have all the information you need, which can lend to an even more personalized experience for the visitor. So we do that through capturing lead information and so forth. We also have the ability to let your staff book meetings through Harmony, and we can give visitors the option, if they so choose, if the client institution so chooses, to connect to live chat as well and talk with your staff members live and virtually in person. And so then enters Arkansas Tech University and how we built a chatbot for them. And so, Brandy, if you want to take over for a little while and talk about your experience.
Happily. As Meredith mentioned, our website holds a lot of information, and sometimes it takes a lot of work to find that info. And we know this. We put the time, we put the energy into updating our pages and changing the layout to be more inclusive, and we spend months of our time training our staff to be experts. Despite our best efforts to make these pages visually appealing with bullets and pictures, our guests opt in for the quickest return on investment, which we know is they email or they call us, and who can blame them? This leaves our staff answering the same question over and over again, and they're not working efficiently at this point. They're not building the relationships we want them to be building. They're not spending the time where we know they need to spend it answering those generic questions. Or worse, our guests just give up looking for the information and we never hear from them again. So what better solution than a virtual recruiter to answer and guide your stealth applicants through the process? Now, I will admit I sound somewhat salesy when I talk about Harmony, but it's just because I absolutely love the product. Okay. Amy, if you'll go to the next slide. So we do our best to give our students and families the information in a digestible format, not the paragraphs upon paragraphs that we want to give them and we know they need. With our virtual assistant Russell, we can easily identify who our guest is, so where they are in the funnel, if they're a family member, if they are a student, then where they are in the process. Are they an applicant? Are they admit? From there, we can customize the information they receive and break it down as you would over the phone. So we're giving them that custom information on their schedule when they want it. By breaking the steps down on a website or a fax page, it's inevitable that we're going to lose some of the details, or again, I mentioned earlier, we lose our audience altogether. Add in a generation born to having this information at their fingertips 24/7. We face an uphill battle daily. And I know I'm speaking to the choir when I say this, but I think it's important to reiterate how important this is. So go with me for a second. Imagine trying to navigate any admission or financial aid process with the website alone, just the website, not take away your knowledge, years of experience. Now imagine doing this for 2 different universities and trying to learn both unique processes. So without a virtual assistant, that is exactly what many of our families are doing right now. We know our SELF applicants are high. We know this is an ongoing issue for us. And if they don't tap in, then, we lose them potentially. So now imagine one of those universities having a virtual assistant or Russell, our chatbot, there to help them and even suggest next steps in the process. Next slide. Now, Meredith and Amy will be quick to tell you, I am not quick to share what I consider insider wins for our institution with our competitors. Like, it's close to pulling teeth for me. However, I'm still a diehard believer that the best fit for our students is what's most important, and that's why I'm here today. So again, I know I sound salesy, but anybody that knows and loves me will take it when I'm passionate about something. That's where I lean to. So take this as God's honest truth. This is how I feel, but it just comes off a little extra sometimes. So partnering with Harmony and launching our chatbot is definitely one I classify as a win for us. I'm sure many of you can agree, no matter what university you work for, staffing turnover, call and email volume run significantly high, both in admissions and financial aid. These factors made choosing our bot's areas of expertise easy choice. For us, it was, again, financial aid and admissions. Financial aid is a little bit of a tricky subject, even for those that live and breathe it every day. We're introducing new terms and even the concept of taxes for the first time to some of our students. We went live with Harmony at one of our busiest times of the year, and our analytics quickly reflected this success. As expected, he was answering parent and future student questions and guiding them through next steps. As an added bonus, we saw several current students finding the help they needed too. Again, I live in a bubble of admissions. My mind is always on future students, even though we know we keep our current students a little further sometimes too. So I was really excited to see that retention coming into place. But ultimately, it cut down on our call volume and our email volume, freeing up our time for our staff to have those unique conversations and discuss those more unique situations, especially in financial aid with our prospective students, and handling those one-on-one conversations that are more needed for a phone call versus something that Russell can quickly guide them through. As many of you can agree, admissions has become synonymous with a one-stop shop. Our guests come to us for all their questions, and many times they come back as current students. Again, I believe this is a mark of a job well done. They trust us to be a reliable source of information. We have been the one that has led them through the beginning steps of one of the most challenging processes they'll endure when starting their, well, not one of many challenges they'll endure as starting at their life as a college student. However, we're not staffed to be anyone to everyone, and we know this, but our bot is a 24/7 wealth of information and knowledge. Not only is he a resource to our guests, but he provides us valuable insight into what our guests are looking for and when they're looking for it. If we see an uptick in one talk, we can adjust our entire messaging on other platforms to adjust these questions, or to address these questions and answer them. So it's that finger on the pulse information that we all want. And right now with COVID and us not being in the schools like we would like, this gives us another insider information into what students are looking for. And we know they're off on their trends. We know they're behind on their process and what they're doing, and they're overwhelmed with virtual. And so this gives us that extra bit of information and insight that really benefits us as an institution, and have more meaningful conversations with our students at the right time. Okay. Now, Meredith.
Yes. So what does this look like then? So obviously, when we first started working with ATU, as we would with any client, your staff and your representatives of your institution know how important it is to have the accurate representation on your website. And it can be a little scary to maybe hand over some of that to someone else. So what this kind of starts with is a really thorough understanding of the institution's goals and objectives and what we're trying to accomplish. So that's what we did as we got started with Russell. So here's this cute little guy. He's just kind of the buddy of everyone. And this is what, he's inspired by Russellville, Arkansas, and this is what we came up with to represent ATU. So I want to talk a little bit about the process of how we, create these virtual assistants. So the first thing we're going to do after we've had our discussions with our staff and institution representatives is that we are going to really do a deep dive and an exploration of the website, obviously paying, particular attention to the departments or areas that we're going to focus on. So that includes the site navigation, understanding how many directory level URLs there are, how many pages within certain departments, understanding their resource center, how do they operate in terms of if someone searches what they find. We want to dive into their FAQs to see what it is that people are already frequently asking. So then we're utilizing search terms. And then of course, we are going to get resources, including things like the style and brand guide to make sure not only are we matching, the look of the site, but also the feel and the language as well. We also want to always make sure that, like we touched on earlier, okay, if a lot of this really critical information or these kind of bridges of information live within the minds of the staff, we want to have the correct information so that Russell can be that virtual assistant and play that role to help out our staff. So this includes relying on departmental resources and information that the staff has broken down for us so that we can really replicate that within the playbook, so that Russell or the virtual assistant is, saying those same things and getting them to the same solution. Then on the back end, what this kind of looks like, these are a couple of screenshots of how this looks. So at this point in time, we've really delved in, we've done our research, and we're ready to start creating these routes and paths, depending on visitor type. Okay, so here you can see a little snippet of, we're finding out, okay, well, what type of student will best describe them? Then they're led to menus that are custom with information to that student type or that visitor type. And then we are prioritizing the topics and questions by that given audience. So if we know we have a prospective student, for instance, you can see in this shot, they might want to know about those specific admission requirements or just about ATU in general or their programs. Another really important kind of piece of this process is when we're differentiating ourselves from your standard chatbot and answering FAQs, what we really want to do to help out staff is to anticipate their needs. So typically, when someone comes to a site, sure, they might have one question, but more often than not, as I'm sure we all know, that can really lead to another series of questions or, prompt another thought. So what we want to be able to do is take that next step and anticipate the needs that they may have and keep that conversation going to the point that we've exhausted all their questions at that time. And what this does is we're avoiding the frustration and we're kind of keeping the process moving. One thing that's important to note, though, is that visitors can choose their level of service. Some people might want to say, hey, I really need you to walk me through the whole enrollment, whereas other people might just need directed to a link. So they can choose that with whatever they're comfortable with. And then, of course, we want to know how we can measure success. Okay, so how are we determining whether or not the paths that we put into place, the way that we've met our objectives, how do we know if this is working? So we wanted to make sure that in ATU's case specifically, we were having these paths and processes that were really guiding people to the answers that they were looking for and giving them the right level of support. So these next few slides are going to look at some of our metrics, and I'll explain those. So the first thing you're seeing here is 7% engagement rate on admission pages. Okay, so for reference, the goal here is usually about 3%. So this is a really high engagement rate. So this is saying that out of the people who are visiting the website, 7% are exchanging at least 2 messages with the bot. So this is a really good thing, especially for your visitors that really maybe aren't ready to talk to someone yet, even on those initial trips, or their comfort level is self-service. And then on our financial aid pages for ATU, even better. So up to 8.2%. And again, the goal being kind of, or the average around 3. We were really encouraged to see this as, you know, we have an enrollment playbook, but this is really serving those first-time students, but also all current students. So we're answering a lot of different types of questions, and this is a really phenomenal engagement rate for financial aid. On average, we're seeing 29 messages exchanged per conversation. This is a really powerful number. So essentially what this tells us is, okay, people think this is worthwhile. They're coming in, they're not just exchanging 1 or 2 messages, they're having a back and forth dialogue with Russell and getting directed to the answers that they're looking for, which is really encouraging and shows that it's working effectively. And then we have here on our first metrics check-in, we had a 91% self-service rate among prospective undergrad students. So what this is telling us is that prospective students that are undergrads, you know, are coming to the site and they are utilizing the flow and the paths and finding the information and getting directed to exactly what it is they're looking for. And they did not require human intervention to do so, which is a really positive thing and exactly what we were going for in alleviating some of that burden from ATU staff. And so as we head into the next slide, Brandy, I'll let you talk a little bit to this.
As kind of mentioned before, you know, admissions tends to be the hub of information for the entire campus. We deal with this all the time, and this is just a little bit of insight into that in particular. This is just one of the analytics pages that you'll see as a Harmony end user. So you can see the different topics our students are asking about, how many are asking about where they are in the funnel, if they are a prospective student, if they're trying to get in contact with our sister campus, Ozark, our transfer international, graduate, undergraduate. It tells you what topics of information they're trying to find information on. And this is just a snippet of the information provided to us. It's phenomenal. Like I mentioned earlier, you can adjust your entire messaging based on what you're seeing through Harmony and being more proactive with answering your students' questions and being that source of information that we all want to be for them before they even know they need it, and really kind of help alleviate some of that stress for them. So the analytics is phenomenal, and it's really gives you the opportunity to, you know, adjust and use it to your benefit if you take full advantage of what's being offered here. So the analytics part is one of the things I'm probably most excited about. It just gives you that little bit of pulse of additional information that we would love to have, and kind of gives you that insider information on your stealth kids that you don't know about and who they are and where they're going. And so we've been even able to pivot some of our graduate college messaging based on this alone.
So while we're, you know, kind of moving out of talking about metrics, a big part of this is obviously the service and support piece. So at this point, you've kind of seen that this isn't just a technological solution. This is so much more than that. What we have here is, you know, an intelligently built virtual assistant that is created by intelligent minds, right? So it's our staff combined with the institution staff at ATU in this example. And without all those pieces, it wouldn't be nearly as effective as it is. So we're a well-functioning machine that has kind of built out this virtual assistant to serve as an extension of staff. And so what we'll do now is kind of talk about some of these really specific service and support pieces. So I'll let Brandy talk more about their institution and their branding and style.
So this is the one I really need to watch my time on, because I've worked with many vendors and I really felt like we got the VIP treatment with Harmony. Like we paid, an awesome price and got the executive level treatment. And again, like I said, this isn't normal. I'm just still blown away by the level of service that was provided. We've spent extensive time discussing that. Well, I say they spent extensive time reviewing our tone and our messaging and our brand and, what's important to us and what we think of our students. As you can see, we have contender, supporter, and transformer out there. And we've spent a lot of time as a university identifying, some of the key traits in our students, and Harmony really dove into that for us and took the time to figure out who we are, how we talk, how we message our students, the fact that we take so much pride in providing excellent customer service to them, really dove down into our core values and our mission and our vision statement, and really kind of ran with that on our chatbot and built out all the content for us and really made this such an easy process. Meredith turned around a whole script to us and I was blown away. I kept expecting, that other foot to drop and find where that work was really going to come in on my end. And they just gave me this beautiful script that all I had to go through is go through and read and edit and adjust and, find those key terms that I know we use and kind of incorporate those where in the few spots where they needed it. And we had a separate call just on branding to make sure we are on point in that Russell was authentic to Arkansas Tech University. He may have been built by an outside company, but he is Arkansas Tech University. He is our voice. He is our little mini virtual recruiter and does a phenomenal job. And a big part of that is the time Harmony spent, and Meredith and Amy in particular spent working with us to build out this whole metrics of conversation to lead these students through the next steps. Again, watching my time here. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, because if not, I will talk and talk and talk. This is a perfect example of how Harmony helped us transition at a crazy time. COVID hit us all unexpectedly. We were not prepared for this, and they come in and they helped us with very specific messaging to our students. As I'm sure many of you all were experiencing, lots of inundating calls on, will classes be virtual? Will you be going entirely virtual? Will you be closing your campus? What will be happening? And we had it posted all over the website, but when you went to our website, he popped up and he gave them that information quickly and really helped cut down on that call volume and reassured our students and our families and even our faculty and staff what was happening with us and where we are headed down the line. So it made it really, really easy on us.
And so we want to touch on two briefly here, our concierge service. So what this little figure is going to show you is just tying up everything we've talked about here, in that Harmony is what we always call a done for you solution. As Brandy really just talked about very nicely, what we want to do is take that burden off of you so that we can help you achieve those goals, and in turn take the burden off of staff and people visiting your site that are struggling. So a number of things that we do include, our goal setting stage, where we establish those objectives in that first couple of meetings or so. What's our goal? How are we going to achieve that? Then we move into the content build stage, where we do the research and figure out the best paths to take for site visitors. We walk all clients through full account setup, so that by the time that they take over, not only is the full virtual assistant ready to go, but everything on the back end is set up and working. We can also then incorporate any integrations that you so choose to make sure that you are extracting the pieces of information that you're looking for. We offer ongoing training and support in terms of, if you have users that are going to use calendars or chat or check messages, We train you on how to do that, whether it's in person or through video, and offer continuous support, which that continuous support also goes into metrics and optimizations, which we check in regularly in terms of making sure that everything is going smoothly, everything's working as planned. If we see a metric and we want to make an adjustment to improve something or change something, we certainly can. And so when we say it's done for you, this is something that is a continual process. It's not, just set once you build it and it's over with. It's continually, we're helping Russell learn, and we're helping the site visitors learn, and it will continue to grow and change as is necessary over time. When we look at what is next, we actually just had a check-in with ATU and talked about, okay, everything's, from what you guys saw here in our metrics, everything's going well, but how can we be even better? What can we do next? A few of those things included more visitor control. So when we talked about self-service options a few slides ago, we made it so that site visitors could have more control over how much help they received. Some people want the full walkthrough, not everybody does. We also built out content for international students to collect some more information to better serve them with their needs in terms of enrollment. And then we also offered a text number so that if a visitor finds that their question is still kind of remaining unanswered at the end, or it's urgent, they have the opportunity to connect with a staff member that way as well. So there's a lot of big, good things on the horizon for ATU, and we're really excited about that. And so Brandy, I don't know if you had any insights into what's next on your end, but feel free to hop in.
As Meredith mentioned, we are building out some of our content. It's been very insightful to see what they're looking for. And so, as you mentioned, our international students, and with everything going on in the government and the climate, it's been very trying, and a lot of our students running on different time zones. So we've been able to look a little bit more deeply into international students and kind of use this as a lead gen service as well, and build up that clientele. And same thing for graduate college. A lot of times graduate students are notorious for being stealth applicants. So we are really utilizing this as a lead gen for them as well, and kind of looking at ways we can improve and refine and, really lead them down the next steps. I mean, we're to the point that we're actually putting deep thought into how we can make this better. And, a lot of times you can think quickly off the top of your head 5 things that can make your website better, but having the time or knowledge or what skills you need to do it, it doesn't necessarily happen. So we're to the point with Harmony that I feel very confident in where we are and how we're digging into those next steps to really make this a great experience for our students.
And so that is a little bit of our journey here at Harmony with ATU. For me personally, I can say this has been a really great experience, one of my first clients, and we really consider ourselves an extension of their team and take to heart what they say about really connecting to their audience and staying true to their institution. And we're really excited to see what happens moving forward. But I will hand it back to Amy so she can kind of wrap things up and get us any questions.
Thank you so much, ladies. And thank you to everyone for your attention. Before we get into questions, I want to just point out that we do have a landing page here for anyone that wants to learn a bit more. So it is mongooseresearch.com, SACRAO-Harmony. And what you will find on that page is a bunch of different Harmony resources if you want to learn a little bit more about the product or what it can do for different institutions based on your needs. You will also have the slide deck for this presentation today. And if you're ready, when you're ready, we will be here if you want to reach out to our team. And obviously you can also take a peek at what Mongoose has going on some of our social channels as well. So I think we have about 5 minutes for questions. And as we go through some questions here, please feel free to continue to put them in the chat. Again, should be a little chat bubble icon in your Zoom taskbar. You can send them to the group or you can send them directly to me. I will keep an eye on that as we go. And also, if somebody is feeling brave and wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, we can definitely do that too. So I'll pause for a quick second here if someone's feeling brave, but I do have a couple questions already queued up. All right, so first question, how much time is required during the onboarding process? So let's see, a couple different things here maybe to talk about in terms of timing, and we can also let Brandy pipe in as well. But in terms of the amount of time that the onboarding process takes, it's a bit dependent on how many conversation flows your team wants to build, perhaps how many integrations. But typically, as Meredith outlined, we start out with that kind of information gathering, we get into content build, finishing setup and training, and then going live. Typically takes about 6 weeks, depending on the availability of your team. But that's kind of a guideline, and we like to say, and Brandy, you can keep me honest on this, but we like to say that from our client stakeholders, it's about 10 hours of their time throughout the onboarding process to just provide input, review materials. I don't know, what do you think, Brandy? Does that sound about right?
I would say that's pretty spot on. And we provided the general branding information. Y'all were fantastic and said, if it's on the website, provide us a link and we'll do the digging and find the additional information. For something that gives such a complex answer, our lift was relatively simple. And again, I'm still blown away by it. I look back and just can't believe y'all made it so easy on us.
Pausing for a second. All right, next question that I have here, how do schools use the live chat feature? Meredith, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So when we talk about how there's obviously a number of features you can utilize, it's really dependent on your institution. Some clients that we have, if you have different teams, for instance, maybe an admissions team and a financial aid team, they might have a few people that utilize the live chat, and we build that directly into the platform so that they are ultimately kind of elevated to speak to a staff member. You could also have chat users on the back end that are kind of more stealth, if you will. They're not planted into the chat, but they are available and can hop in at any time. So it's really at your discretion. Some clients use it and they have, a number of staff members on there in different teams, and, others just rely really on their virtual assistant to walk people through the flow, and both seem to work very, very well.
Yeah, I think one more thing that I might add about the live chat is it's just really seamless. The bot is chatting with a visitor, and when your team decides that it's right to bring someone in for live chat, the visitor sees that little bot image change to a person's face, sees the name change, and that person just kind of picks up the conversation from there, and it is so customizable. So we know how precious staff time is, right? So we don't want to be, forcing your team to be jumping into live chats when it's not appropriate. So you can really set up, these are the conversations that should have a person in, and these are the preferences for when and how we want to be available to live chat. I'll keep going unless someone interrupts me.
I have time for one more, Amy, because I have to hop on to the next one just to get the next one set up, but just let's wrap up with one more if that's okay.
Great. So I do have a question here. Does it integrate with Slate? So yes, in terms of the integrations, I think the main point that I would want to get across here is just how flexible it is in terms of integration. So depending on your needs, there could be different systems that you'd like to have information exchange. A lot of our admissions and enrollment folks, it's that CRM to bring leads in. But it can also be lookups. So you want to look up information about a visitor in another system. Very flexible in terms of the platform for integration. And like many of the other services that we've talked about today, it is the Harmony team that does the bulk of the integration work for you. So very minimal lift on your IT team. So I think that's what the main message I would want to say about integration. So I will let this wrap up and thank everyone again for joining us. Thank the presenters today. Thank you, Hope. Thanks to
Yes.
SACRAO.
Thank you very much for joining us. It was a great presentation.
Wonderful. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.